And here's where it gets genuinely interesting and where the book asks the most of you. The phase 3 instruction says, pay particular attention to the void. What has consistently not appeared across your 30 sessions is often the most significant data the practicum has produced. But consistently absent now means two things at once, and they are not the same thing at all. Absent under neutral conditions, it never showed up across 20 question-free sessions. And absent, even when a specific question was pulling for it, you asked directly about a thing and it still did not come. The strongest void data is what stays absent across both registers, questioned and unquestioned alike. A signal that never appeared in any session under any condition is the field telling you it does not belong here, regardless of what you ask. That is a very strong statement, and you could not have made it 3 weeks ago because you had no neutral baseline to make it against. Now the other case, and this is the one I find remarkable. A signal that appeared freely in the neutral phase and then vanished once your questions began. That is a completely different message. The book's spatial site is precise about it. The question itself may be steering the field away from it. Sit with that for a moment. It means your asking has consequences. It means the act of pointing the instrument can push something out of you. That a question is not neutral, but actually an intervention, which is exactly why you needed 20 days of not asking. Without the neutral phase, that phenomena would be completely invisible to you. You would simply never have seen the thing, and you would have concluded it was not there, when in fact it was there all along, and your question drove it out. Track them separately. The difference between the registers is now one of your instruments. Let me give you the sentence to carry through the last 10 days. It is from the book, and it is the most sophisticated thing in it. Consistency in the void is not simply absent every day. It is absent under the conditions where it had every reason to appear. Think about how much rigor is packed into that. An absence is cheap if nothing was calling for the thing. Of course, a card did not appear in a region you were not thinking about. Nothing was pulling for it. That absence tells you very little. But an absence that persists when you ask directly about it, when the question was specifically pulling for that thing to surface, when every bias in your body was recruited to produce it, and it still did not come, that is an absence that has survived the test. And you now know exactly what that means because you have spent 20 days learning it. A finding is not something you noticed. It is something that survived. An absence that survives a direct question is more than 100 quiet ones. That is the strongest form of evidence this method can produce. And it is now available to you for the first time because for the first time, you can create the conditions under which a thing has every reason to appear and then observe that it does not. That is not passive recording anymore. That is an experiment with a manipulation in it. You have been building the apparatus for 20 days. Today, you get to turn it on. Tonight in order, and notice how little has actually changed. Step 0, your question. Plain language before you shuffle. Apply the test first. If the geometry says the opposite of what I want, will I write that down? Step 1, somatic baseline. Unchanged. Hands first before anything is placed. Step 1.5, per card touch log. Unchanged. Each card once, in order, face down. Step 3, constellation map. Unchanged. Draw before the flip. Freeze it. Step 4, structural synthesis. Geometry sentence, full trunk, which again is distance, cluster, void, isolate, and your disconfirmation line exactly as you have written it for 20 days. Step 5, integration notes. And here I want you to add one line tonight and every night of this phase. Did the question change what I noticed? Be honest. Did you find yourself looking at the region of the table you had decided was about the question? Did the cluster seem to be about him or her or it? Did the void become meaningful in a way it has not been for 20 days? Write down what the asking did to you. That is genuinely new data, and it is data about the only instrument that has ever mattered here, which is you. One new step. Everything else is identical. The log holds still, as it has for 20 days, so that any change in what comes back is a change in you and cannot be anything else. Let me tell you what is going to happen tonight, so you can watch it happen rather than be taken in by it. The layout is going to seem to answer. Every element will appear relevant. The cluster will be about the question. The void will be about the question. The isolate will be about the question. The whole table will organize itself in your perception around the thing you wrote in step 0, and it will do so effortlessly, immediately, and with a sense of great significance. And you will think, my God, it is responding. That is the question talking. You have supplied a subject, and a mind that has been supplied with a subject makes everything relate to it. That is not a spooky property of tarot. It is a property of minds, and it is the same one that produces the face in the wallpaper, arriving now with more power than it has ever had, because for the first time, you've given it a target. Here is the thing I want you to hold on to, and it is the reason 20 days of neutral sessions were worth every boring evening. For 20 days, nothing was about anything. You have a memory of that. You know what a layout feels like when it is not about anything, when the cluster is just a cluster, and the void is just an absence, and nothing organizes around the subject because there is no subject. Compare tonight against that, directly, deliberately. Ask yourself, is this layout actually different from a neutral one? Or does it merely feel more significant because I've given it something to be significant about? That comparison is available to you and to almost nobody else in the field, and it is the single most valuable thing you own. Use it. That is day 21, and that is phase 3 open. You may now bring a genuine question to the table. Step 0, plain language. Before you shuffle, frozen, exactly as the map is frozen, and for exactly the same reason, so that it cannot be adjusted afterward to fit what arrived. And genuine means something specific. You do not know the answer. You're not hoping for one. You would accept either outcome. The test. If the geometry says the opposite of what I want, will I write that down? If you hesitate, ask something else tonight. You're not ready to ask something you're not ready to be wrong about. Start small. Do not bring the question that's breaking your heart to the first session you have ever aimed at anything. Bring something you're curious about and only mildly invested in, and use tonight to learn what the asking does to you, because that is the real experiment tonight, and the subject of it is not the cards. Remember that you are now running a second experiment, not continuing the first. 2 registers, neutral and questioned. Track them separately. And attend to the void. An absence that survives a direct question, that persists when everything in you is pulling for it to appear, is the strongest evidence this method can produce. Consistency is not absent every day. It is absent under the conditions where it had every reason to appear. You're not asked to believe. You are asked to record. And now, for the first time, to record the answer to something you actually wanted to know. Tomorrow, dropping the checklist. You have been following 5 steps in a fixed order for 21 days, and something else has happened to that sequence which you may not have noticed yet. I'm Dr. Rivka Edery, signing off on day 21. I really hope you'll join us for day 22 tomorrow. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.